Hello, my name is M Munsey. I'm a BFA student here at Western. So sorry I couldn't be there in person to explain this work with you in the room, but I'll do my best here to kind of explain this body of work I've created for the BFA. Starting with just a few lines from this working artist statement of mine. My body has a memory of my history too. It is a living document to my past and my being. Working with the body, I want to consider the fragments left in the marks, to investigate what traces of the physical experience can be seen in the material. Once we start looking at some of the images in the sculptures, I think the sentiment will become a little bit more visible. Starting with the idea, the root of this project is based in this theory of phenomenology, where everything we know and interact with in our world is through touch. It's through physicality, what we can see and feel, smell, and be a part of with our body. Our body is the only way our mind can interpret the world it exists in. It's very interesting to me. This project, the sculptures, kind of stem out of an earlier body of work of mine called When I Needed God, and that was a time in my life where I was hospitalized for the collapsing of my esophagus and no longer able to eat or to chew, to swallow, difficult to breathe, and an immense amount of pain. And I suddenly became infatuated with the documents that this hospitalization produced. These were tangible documents that depicted the physicality of my state. And it became very, very fascinating, and some things I cling to is the document. And so now I wanted to capture a moment in time, to capture being existing, to capture that with a photograph and to capture that with clay. And so these images are documentation. They're documentary images of a happening. They're of me in the Lightroom making these ceramic vessels, but they're also a document of life. They are bridging the gap between what we know as normal physicality and our tangible life into another world almost, where abstraction and just simple shutter speed and apertures have now dictated our perception of reality. Through these lenses of abstraction, we've become removed from what is normal, what we are familiar with. Our visual literacy has been distorted in a way that, for me, has allowed me to kind of step back and view myself and my physical body apart from my mind, apart from my sentiment, apart from my emotionality, and kind of see the workings happening in front of me. So the images capture that, but then by producing these ceramics vessels, which we'll see here very briefly, I can see my physicality, my body, the traces left in the marks, like I say, in the material. And that's another document. I've preserved this act, this action, this happening within two different, almost diametrically opposed documents. We're very used to seeing images that tell what we know is the truth, and I'm very concerned with what is the truth? What is my truth? How can I see that visually? I'm kind of rambling now, but we're getting into the sculptural works. So these are the products, and these are some unfired, some fired. They're in different stages of their development, but in tandem with the photographs, I want to explore the notion of documentation through other formats, different formats of capturing. And these marks, the dilapidation, the manipulation is the product of my manipulation to this vessel. I have now captured myself, almost a version of myself, version of time within ceramic. And that's very, very interesting to me. And they look very bodily. They become almost a metaphor for the body rather than an extension. I'm not speaking necessarily through the clay, but the clay is kind of harboring the time passing. It's allowing me to put myself into the material almost, put this notion of physicality, my physical body, into the material and preserve it as a document would. That's become very interesting to me. And so for the purposes of the show and representation, just so we can get on the same page here, is there'll be about 10 or so of these sculptures in the field while images are being portrayed on the wall behind them. So 10 or so sculptures, maybe 50 or so images on rotation. And I just say that so we kind of have an idea of where I'm going with this. But that, I think, the relationship and the conversation between the two formats of documentation is very important to me, because one's physical and one is almost ethereal. I know we're used to the printed document as a photograph, but what happens when it's shown via projection? Is it no longer tangible? We can see it, and it's physically in the room with us, but it's not necessarily the truth. And I'm very interested in how we disguise the truth and what we're familiar with, and how I can be seen in other ways, other formats, and to observe objectively almost the physical body, my physical body, most importantly. Okay, I'm out of time. I can't wait to meet you all, and I'm so sorry I couldn't be there today, but thank you so much.